come from above, and whether they be planetary alignments or what they are, it's hard to say. But there is something that changes, and it's much more than obviously Christmas carols and things like that. There is some kind of electricity that abounds this time of year that draws people to one another. It can make many people terribly depressed. They've got the suicide hotlines on 24-hour alert right now because some people just can't deal with it. They really get depressed. Others are filled with love and lots of good feelings. But as the season progresses, as we go away from Christmas or further and further away we go, that feeling disappears. So there is something very special about this time of year that has to do with people being drawn to one another. Something electrical, something magnetic that has to do probably, and I believe this, with the formations of the celestial bodies at this time of year. They seem to generate a particular type of energy that makes us feel the way we do. So all of us here in this room, and many of you, television, have been raised with the story of Mary and Joseph traveling to Bethlehem. No room at the inn. The Virgin giving birth in a stable among the animals. The shepherds watching. The wise men coming, and the star shining down on all of it. You've heard that story, and you know that story, and it's been part of your life. Such a beautiful story, complemented by songs that are beautiful, such as Silent Night or It Came Upon a Midnight Clear. The story of the birth of Jesus in a stable is mythology. It's a mythological story. It never happened. And I would always pause after saying something like that because it was had to give people time to think about, what did you just say? I said that the story of the birth of Jesus in a stable is mythology. It never occurred. There never was a child born to a virgin in a stable with shepherds and wise men and a star. It never occurred. But the wonder of that, after you initially hear a statement like that and start to put up your defenses, the wonder of it all is that as mythology, it speaks not of what happened, but of what happens. Because there truly is a child who is born of a virgin among the animal instincts of all of us. This is really true. We are the shepherds. We watch over the sheep, which are our thoughts. Think of that again. We are the shepherds. The sheep are our thoughts. How many of you have been told when you were a child, well, if you can't fall asleep, what did you do? You counted sheep and you watched them. We watch the sheep. The sheep are our thoughts. The wise men that come to us from the East is the new thoughts, the new information, the enlightenment that comes from the right hemisphere of the brain, from the spiritual side, from the emotional side, from the God side. So if you just think of the story, okay, the shepherd is us watching over our thoughts. The wise men from the East is wisdom from the right side. And so by understanding that the story of Jesus in Bethlehem is a mythology, we've now been able to go into the mythological meanings and come up with a reality, a truth. That's a true story. Christmas is a true story. So we are the shepherds watching. The wise men are wisdom that comes from the right side when we are watching. The stable is the human body. Part of the specific part of the stable being that part of the mind. And the animal part is where the child is born. So right there, the animals being the physical nature. Okay, so amidst there, we've kind of covered there in the stable, there in that special place inside of the body, amongst the animals, which are those parts of us which are, our instincts, our physical being, the wise men from the east, wisdom from the right side, the shepherds, us watching. And the virgin is pure consciousness, which is unstained by human thought. So we have pure conscious. Okay. The virgin. And the star. The star is the higher light which follows all of us from above and enters our stable through the lotus or the pineal gland of the brain. The star is the higher light. Of course, there's no room at the inn, because that's the physical part of the brain. And, that's the part that is constantly active. That's the part that is consistently talking to us. And there's no room here to have a child of light because we're too busy. We're too busy to go to meditation. We're too busy to really look and all of these things. So you cannot possibly do it. The child cannot be born in that part of the brain. It has to go to the stable, which is the quiet part, still within our animal instincts, and that's where the child is. That's what this story's about. It's mythology. But being mythology, it can be duplicated. You can allow Christmas to take place inside of you in a very real way. See? The wonder of the story is that it physically never happened, but in reality it can and does happen if we will turn away from the storytellers and instead of reading the story, become the story. Instead of reading about Christmas, become Christmas. Give birth to the Christ in the stable inside here. See? Moving out of the inn, realizing that the brain, which does all the business, cannot be a place where the child can be born, we move out of that into the stable, which is the quiet place, where in the midst of all our animal instincts, there can be this birth. And then we become shepherds by watching, as Jesus said. And then as we watch amidst our animal instincts, wisdom will come from the right side. And then as we separate from the thoughts of the mind, which is pure consciousness, the virgin will give birth, and the light from the star will enter into the stable, and then we will be part of that, which is the child. So it's really a wonderful thing. But what we have unfortunately been raised to do is concentrate on a stable that we put under a tree, or a stable that's put up on a church altar somewhere, instead of concentrating on the fact that the stable is inside of us. See? Then when we realize that, hey, it's not under a tree, it's not out, it's us, then the Christmas story becomes real to each one of us. And that's really what is the essence of going from the stress and the unhappiness and the sickness to this point of having Christmas become part of us and becoming one with Christmas. All of your life now, you've read the story. Jesus and Joseph go to Bethlehem. No room at the inn, into the stable. She as a virgin gives birth to the child. The shepherds come. The wise men come. The stars in the east and all this kind of... You've sung the song, Silent Night, it came upon the midnight clear, joy to the world. You've watched the gentle snow fall as you sing of peace on earth and goodwill to men. Yet there is an elusive part of it all that runs from you so much of the year. It's only here during a few days in December because we look at it as some kind of an event that happened thousands of years ago and is now carried out by Walmarts and Macy's. I mean, that's it. We don't understand it as a change that is being spoken of that occurs inside of us when we elect to be the Christmas story. We presently, all over the world, we're experiencing violence of earth people. Whatever the excuse, whatever the justification for their acts, they kill each other. Oh, I know. I mean, after the World Trade thing and then our involvement in Afghanistan, some good things have happened. I mean, the women now in Afghanistan are able to go to school and get some. They say, well, it was a good thing we bombed there, but the problem is, according to God's thoughts, that should have never happened in the first place. I mean, you know, it depends. You know, Osama's the bad guy this time around. The last time around, the United States was giving him the weapons, and he was the good guy. You know, it's just all, unfortunately, things that oppress and hurt and kill people, and we justify it one way or another. We can always justify the violence that we do. Bigger and better weapons, and we can, you know, do all of these things. And then after we are killing them and they're killing us and people are blowing each other up and all of these terrible things, and we ask God to bless. But here's the blessing that God sent. And we don't understand it. We don't follow it. We don't become part of it. It doesn't require you to go to any church. It doesn't require you to go to any meeting hall. It doesn't require any of that. It requires you to go to your stable. Your stable, not mine. Sometimes I know, you know, people